Hello, my name is Sean Policino, and welcome to the Real World of Real Estate. I'm going to talk to you today about the 5 income generating activities that you need to fill your schedule with. I promise if you fill your schedule with these activities, you will make more money than you ever did before. I'll see you in a bit. So today we're talking about the 5 income generating activities. These are the activities that you should fill your schedule with. Really all the other things like designing marketing pieces and what should my business cards look like and do I need a website? These are all really secondary. Your income will be determined by how much time you put into the 5 income generating activities. And I'm going to share those with you in a minute. But before I do, I want to say welcome to the Real World of Real Estate. My name is Sean Policino. I'm the host. This is my podcast that I'm doing Monday through Friday. And I'm putting it all over social media. You can find it on YouTube. You can find it on where you find your favorite podcasts like Amazon Music or iTunes or Spotify. Please like and share wherever it is that you are seeing it. If you like the content, I'll do more. If you have any special requests, comment below so that I can read those comments and do a special segment on what you want. So the 5 income generating activities are really important. And when I first started in real estate back in 2005, I came out of the auto industry and I was a finance manager, finance director at a car dealership. I've been in real estate now for 16 years. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my business as we get into explaining this. But I came out of a very high sales oriented position. If you've ever bought a car before, you understand that when you go in there, the salesperson is going to jump all over you, and it's kind of a high pressure environment. And so I knew, the basic sales skills like asking questions and getting somebody to, creating urgency around a decision. I'm pretty good at that. I was coming out of the car business into real estate. I was pretty good at that. I sold 36 homes my first year in real estate back in 2005. And it was a market very similar to what we are experiencing today. A lot of multiple offers on properties, a lot of competition in the market, and you had to create that urgency. And so coming out of the car business was very helpful to me. I've been an producing agent for 16 years. Although I do have a team, I started a team in 2012. I produce about 75-80% of the production that our team does. Currently we have 9 members of the team. We're stretched from San Diego County all the way up to the north part of the Southern California, which is almost Central California, but all of LA County, Orange County, Ventura County are all covered by the team. And I generate leads all over this area. Also in Dallas, Texas, as well as Boston, Massachusetts. We have team members there as well. And we're looking to grow our team to the entire 50 states. So if you're interested in joining the team, please reach out. It's the Policino Real Estate Team. And you can schedule with me at calendly.com/Sean Policino. And you can also call 818-338-8787. That's 818-338-8787 if you're interested in joining the team. We provide leads. We provide tools like Homes for Heroes and Mojo Dialer and all the data to call for sale by owners and expireds. We provide leads most of all, and we do pay for some marketing. So give me a call if you have any questions about joining the team and getting your real estate career off to a great start and making money in the meantime. We want to see everybody make money. So I'm also a real estate coach for iconcoaching.com. So you can go check out Icon Coaching at iconcoaching.com programs. We have all sorts of great real estate coaching program and agent attraction if you're interested in growing your brokerage by adding brokerage members, or if you're looking to grow your team and you want to focus on recruiting, give us a call, schedule with us for attraction and action, how to attract agents to your business. We coach on that. Okay. So back to the 5 income generating activities. I focused on these things without even realizing what they were back in 2005 when I sold 36 homes my first year. Now, if you know anything about real estate, the average agent comes into this business and 90% fail within a year. 85% of the ones that make it past a year fail within 5 years. The average transactions per agent is less than between 5 and 6 transactions. So how does somebody come out and sell 36 in the first year like I did without even knowing what I was doing? I mean, yeah, I had some sales experience from the car business, but I didn't know real estate. I mean, I owned a home, but that's about it. And the way I did it was focusing on these 5 activities. But at the time, I didn't even know that's what I was doing. I learned about the 5 income generating activities years later, 2012 actually, and I started in 2005. So the first one is lead generation. Lead generation is the most, that's why it's number 1. The second one is lead follow-up. And there is a difference between lead generation and lead follow-up. And we're going to talk about the differences. We track lead generation. We don't necessarily track lead follow-up other than in our CRM. Because obviously if somebody says, hey, you know what, I'm going to buy a home in the spring and it's the winter, you want to remember to call them in the spring. And that happens in your CRM system. And that's as simple as putting an activity saying, hey, call John in the spring. He's thinking about buying then. So lead follow-up, they always say the fortune is in the follow-up. It's super important that you do the follow-up. But the lead generation is the gas in your car. If you don't put gas in your car, how far does your car travel? It'll go for a little bit, and that's when we talk about that little bit. That is literally the business that you find from your sphere of influence, people that know you. You can run into 3 or 4 or 5 transactions a year just by mistake, meaning people that you know who already like you, know that you're an agent because you're not a secret agent. They know you're an agent and they say, hey, talk to my friend Jane. She wants to buy a home. Or, hey, Bob and Sue, your friends, are actually buying a home or selling a house or investing in real estate. So that's your sphere of influence. Everybody has a sphere. Some is little, small sphere, some is larger. Mine was about 250 people. That's what I started with, and it's grown since then. But to be honest with you, the lead generation is actually what we call active lead generation. That's when you actually go out and make outbound calls, prospecting calls to find business, okay? And if you say, look, I don't like making calls, I don't like the phone, I don't like making unsolicited phone calls, then I'm sorry to say you're probably in the wrong business. But let me ask you a question. If you call somebody and do a cold call, let's just say you take a random neighborhood and you make a phone call into that neighborhood and you ask a question. Hey, my name is Sean. I'm calling from eXp Realty. And I'm just curious, who do you know in the neighborhood? As you probably aware, everything on the market is selling very fast. Who do you know in the neighborhood that's thinking about selling a home? I have a very special client that I'm working with that wants to live in your neighborhood. And they say, gee, how funny. You called us. My husband and I are actually thinking about selling our house. That just went from a cold call to a hot call. Wouldn't you agree? So the point is, when you make the call, yes, it's unsolicited. If they say they hang up on you, or they say, don't ever call me again, and they hang up on you, or they just say, no, I'm not looking to sell a home and I don't know anybody, then that's okay. Just move on to the next person. I have a mantra that I've said in my business for many, many years, and it's real estate is a numbers game. It's not my job to make insane people sane, stupid people smart, or unhappy people happy. It is my job to find smart, sane, happy people that want to buy a home from me or want to list their home to sell with me today. That's my job. So that's a mantra that I tell myself, so that keeps me from getting frustrated when making those outbound calls, trying to find 1 out of 100 people that are, or 200 people that are thinking about buying a home, selling a house, or investing in real estate. So the fortune is in the follow-up, but the gas for your car is in the lead generation. That's active, proactive lead generation, which means having a strategy that one of 50 different strategies that you're going to use to lead generate. So the 5 income generating activities, number 1 is lead generation. Number 2 is lead follow-up. Number 3 is going on appointments. Number 4 is negotiating contracts. And number 5 is practicing your scripts, your dialogues, and your presentations. So your buyer presentation and your seller listing presentation. And I would even challenge you to say a commercial presentation. You will find business when you're talking to a lot of people. You will find commercial business. And if you're not listening for it, if you don't have the conversation to be able to have a conversation around it, you will miss out on that business. I've done easily 5 transactions that I've made over $100,000 on a single transaction. And my number 1 biggest transaction that I've ever made, the biggest transaction I've ever made a commission on is $250,000 on a single transaction. And that transaction was a church. And it actually came from a team member. And I had to split that transaction. But the commission was a 10% commission that we shared. We got to keep 7.5% of the commission on a church. And the standard commercial commission is 10%. Now, granted, you're going to have some very big commissions that are going to get whittled down. In other words, if it's a $10 million property, that seller is going to probably whittle you down to somewhere around 2 or 3%. I have one right now that's a $2 million transaction, and I'm working on an 8% commission. So these are real transactions. This is the real world of real estate. And that's why I'm sharing with you real estate, not some of these talking heads out there that are just talking about what you should do, but they've never done it. I've actually done it, and I'm sharing that with you. So if you like this material, please like and comment and share and subscribe, especially if you're on YouTube for me. It helps the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm. So back to the 5 income generating activities. I shared them all with you, and I'm going to break them all down. The lead generation. This looks like you actually taking your schedule, your work schedule, a 5-day work week out of a 7-day work week, and blocking out a section of time called lead generation. Now, what are you going to do? What is lead generation? That is where you actually have a strategy, and we'll do a whole segment on lead generation strategies, but I can share a list with you if you're interested and want a list of over 50 different lead generation strategies. Just shoot me an email or a comment, and I'll send you that list. My email address is seanpolicino@gmail.com. Real easy. You can't mess it up. And my name is right here on the channel. You'll be able to see how to spell that. So lead generation looks like blocking out a time, a 2-hour block. You probably should have between 3 and 5 hours of lead generation each day, meaning the rest of your 8-hour workday, you've got for designing postcards, designing your designing your website, going on appointments. That's actually an income generating activity, but you've got time for appointments outside of your lead generation. So you don't want to block 5 hours all at one time. You're going to block out 2-hour blocks, 2 hours here, 2 hours here, an hour there, maybe a lunch in the middle. You may have the hiccups. And you're going to go ahead and block out a 2-hour expireds. That means you're going to be calling expireds during that 2 hours. That doesn't mean you're going to be setting up to call expireds. That's a separate activity outside of on your time blocking calendar. The 2 hours expireds is literally when you start the dialer or you start a manual and you're dialing the phone, writing down the contact, writing down your notes, dialing the phone, or if you're using a dialer, you're hitting a button, leaving a voicemail to hit a button because you don't have to do that. Hit a button to dial the phone. And if you're like me, we supply Mojo Dialer, which has 3 lines. It's dialing simultaneously, getting a person on the phone, having a conversation, taking the notes, scheduling an appointment, and click, go to the next one, and it dials the phone again. If you get a voicemail, it drops the voicemail and goes. So you're being really efficient in that 2-hour block, eliminating all distractions other than taking some notes, dialing the next number, having the conversation, hanging the phone up, taking some notes, dialing the next conversation, dialing the phone, having a conversation. This is if you're calling expireds. These are people that had their home listed for sale and it expired. Either it's an older expired, meaning from a few months ago, or it just literally expired yesterday and you're calling it today. If you're not gonna call fresh expireds the day of in the morning between 7 and 8 a.m., then I would probably not bother calling those expireds until they've gotten at least a month or two old, because they're pissed off, those people, because they've gotten a lot of phone calls from agents. So I have agents that tell me, oh, I can't call expireds, everybody's angry. That's because you're trying to call expireds that expired in the 2 days ago, 4 days ago, 5 days ago, and they've gotten 100 calls from agents. So of course they're pissed off, and so would you be. So if you want to master the game of expireds, you want to call fresh expireds, meaning they expired yesterday, they're expiring today, this morning. Call it's between 7 8 a.m. Early bird gets the worm, right? So you want to be the first person to set that appointment, because I guarantee you the second, the third, the fourth, the 100th, the 50th, the 50th, the 100th, whatever, those people are not setting an appointment with that person because they're upset. So there is strategy to calling expires, and I'm going to do a whole segment on expireds. But just know, lead generation is where you block out the time, you call the expireds, you say expired is going to be my strategy for that 2 hours, okay? And your next 2 hours may be something different. It might be door knocking or farming, which isn't the phone. That's actually you going out, and it could be the phone because you actually do call your farm, but it could be actually going out and door knocking for 2 hours and getting in front of people at the door, having a conversation. That's a contact. Real estate is a contact sport. So it's about making contacts. The goal is 20 contacts a day, 100 a week. So if you have a day where you only made 15 contacts, the next day you got to make 25 contacts. Over that week, you want to make sure you hit your 100. Okay, so lead generation is the block of time. Figure out the strategy in advance of that block, and then you just hit it on that block. So if your second block is a 2 hour block, and it's going to be door knocking, farming, right, which means going to door knock, then you got to incorporate the drive time to your farm outside of that time block. So your 2 hours expired, another half hour to drive to your farm area, and then 2 hours of door knocking. And all you're doing is door knocking in that 2 hours, and you're counting the contacts as you're talking to people. This is what we call active lead generation. And it's the first thing out of the 5 activities. And we're going to break down all 5 here for you today. So lead generation, active lead generation, blocking out time, figuring out the strategy, whether it's expireds, whether it's for sale by owners, which is different than expireds, or it's farming, and farming consists of door knocking and calling the farm area. So both of those will fit into that block of lead generation. Now, let's say you meet somebody in the farm and you talk to them, they have a great conversation, or you talk to an expired on the phone and they say, yes, I am willing to list, or I am open to listing. You set the appointment. In that time before the appointment, you follow up to confirm. That is a follow-up call. That is not lead generation. Let's say you talk to somebody in your sphere, because part of your sphere, part of your lead generation block could be sphere of influence, where you're calling the people that you know and that already like you, that are likely to list with you or buy from you or invest with you. You're going to call those people and just keep in touch. Now, when you call them, that is an active lead generation. Now, if you're waiting for them to call you, that's passive. That's not active. That's what we call passive lead generation. So, like, for example, doing open houses is both passive and active. It's active when you actually talk to somebody, but what happens if you put signs out and nobody shows up to the open house, which has happened to me? It happens to lots of people. Then that's passive. You just sat there and wasted 2 hours, 3 hours, because you didn't talk to anybody. So that's why I prefer active lead generation strategies. Open house is kind of a mixture of both. I don't personally love open houses, although I did open houses when I first started my real estate career. I did my sphere of influence and I did open houses, and I sold 36 homes that year. So you can do that. It's a great strategy, open houses, but just know it's a passive and it's an active. It's also what we call a low efficiency. So what you want to pick a strategy based upon the efficiency, meaning if I get on a dialer and it's a 3-line dialer using Mojo, if it's Vulcan 7, it's a 1-line dialer or one of these other ones. But let's say I'm calling Expires and I'm using a 3-line dialer and I can talk to 25 people in 1 hour. That's a high efficiency. Anything over 10 to 12 is high efficiency. But now let's say I go and I call my sphere of influence and I spend a lot of time catching up and saying hello, how's the family, how's work, you got any big plans this summer, vacations this summer, and I spend going over Ford, which is family, occupation, recreation, dreams. This is something you will do with your sphere of influence on a call. And then the second half of the conversation, we're talking about real estate, and I end up speaking to 5 to 6 people in an hour, then that's a low efficiency. So you want to have a mixture of your strategies, high efficiency and low efficiency, so that you average 20 contacts a day. Now, when I say strategies, you should have between 3 and 4 strategies. Now, if you want a list of 50 different strategies, like and share, like and comment, subscribe to the channel, and comment. And I will send you that. I'll post that that's over 50 different lead generation strategies, or you can email me at seanpolicino@gmail.com, and I will send you that that list of over 50 different. You want to pick 3 or 4, not counting your sphere. Everybody has a sphere of influence. Pick 3 or 4 external lead generation strategies that you're really committed to. Now, so we talked about lead generation. We talked about lead follow-up. You do need to block out some time in your calendar for lead follow-up. Lead follow-up is when you're talking to your friend Joe, and Joe says, yeah, you know what? Jane and I are actually thinking about buying a home in the summer, and you set a follow-up call. Those are the follow-up calls that you're making each day, because if you're doing a lot of lead generation, you should have follow-up calls to make. We're just not tracking those as lead generation. You do want to measure, you do want to track and measure your lead generation, the first strategy, the first activity, lead generation. You want to track that and measure that. The way we do that is on a simple sheet that you just keep track of how many conversations you had. You want to keep on the side, on the margin, how many dials you had, how much time you actually lead generated, and then you want to keep track of how many conversations you had and how many appointments you set, buyers and sellers. That's what you want to track. You track that, and then at the end of the month, you can measure it. At the end of 3 months, you can measure it. At the end of 6 months, you can measure it. And for the year, you'll know your numbers. A leader knows his numbers. Be a leader, okay? So lead generation is the first activity, most important. Lead follow-up is the second. The fortune is in the follow-up. We use a CRM for this follow-up. I have a client, an agent on my team that came on the team, and she's using a recipe box and index cards. Not the way to go. Although it works, not the way to go. We have technology. Technology is your friend. There's automated texting. There's smart campaigns. There's alerts, behavioral alerts, where your system says, hey, John pulled up a property on his home computer and also pulled it up on his mobile device. You should call John. And it automatically prompts you to call John because of that behavioral activity. So this is why you want to use a CRM. And I use KV Core. We get KV Core as part of our package at EXP. If you're interested in EXP, want to know more about it, or if you just want to hear a model that gives you 8 ways of making money using your real estate license instead of 1, gives you ownership, stock ownership in the company, and pays you when the company grows, when you help the company grow, that's EXP. Best model in real estate. And I was with Keller Williams for 16 years. You want to know more about that? Give me a call, 818-338-8787. You can see the phone number and contact information below, along with my calendar link, which is below as well, if you'd like to schedule with me. So lead generation, lead follow-up, use your CRM. Don't track the follow-up, but make the follow-up. The fortune's in the follow-up. And then going on appointments. Going on appointments is pretty simple. If you do lead generation, you are going to make appointments. When you make appointments, you block those in your schedule and you go on the appointments. Now, what we track on appointments is a buyer appointment. That's a buyer consultation. That's where you go and meet with the buyer and give your value proposition and attempt to get a contract. Too many agents work without a contract with buyers. You could choose to be that agent, or you could choose to be the agent that works with contracts. In order to get a contract signed, it's absolutely recommended that you practice and rehearse a buyer consultation, which is the fifth strategy or fifth activity, knowing your scripts and dialogues and your presentations. But to go on the appointments, we recommend you use a buyer appointment. Now, on our team, if we don't do a buyer appointment and we go and show the buyer property, then that counts as the buyer appointment. Okay. So it's about making appointments. We don't make contacts, which is lead generation, for the sake of making contacts. We track we make those contacts until we make appointments. So know, based upon how many homes you want to sell this year, how many appointments you need to be able to sell that many homes. This should be part of your business planning, which should happen in September before the preceding year. So September 2022, I'm making my business plan for the year 2023. In that plan, I'm figuring out exactly how many homes I need to sell, exactly how many appointments I need to have, both buyer and seller, and then I'm setting those appointments monthly. Break that down to monthly. How many do I need to have monthly? And I'm incorporating enough contacts to make those appointments. If you make 200 contacts instead of 100, but you didn't set enough appointments based upon your plan, then you need to make more contacts. That means add more time before the month ends. So again, 5 income generating activities are in your all these income generating activities are in your time block calendar in green for money. Do you like the color green? I do. So income generating activities is lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and practicing your scripts, your dialogues, and your presentations, and a commercial presentation, buyer, seller, commercial. So back to making appointments. It's important that you realize that making appointment means keeping the appointment. So we write down in our calendar or in our lead generation sheet, we made an appointment today for a buyer, but then let's say the buyer cancels. Then we didn't actually go on the appointment. So in our business plan, we're actually looking at the appointments we need to complete. And we're not going to convert on all of those. So we're using a percentage, 75 or 50. If you're a new agent, start out with 50%. If you're a better and more seasoned agent, you can go 75, 85, 90%. In the market today, 99% of the homes are selling. So on the conversion ratio of how many appointments to how many contracts you get, which is negotiating contracts, that's the fourth extra activity, is negotiating contracts. When you're doing a lot of lead generation and you're going on a lot of appointments, you should end up with a lot of listing contracts. That's buyer listing, seller listing, commercial listing contracts, and negotiating those contracts. So when you get a listing contract, you should be then negotiating offers. So you want to practice your skills around negotiating, going to contracts class, role playing, okay? Asking questions to your mentor or your coach about what if I get in this scenario, a multiple offer situation, having strategies, how to win in a multiple offer situation. Look up my video on how to win in a multiple offer situation, and I went over strategies on how to do that. That is the fourth activity, which is negotiating contracts. And the final activity is practicing your scripts and your dialogues, knowing what to say. And if you you can use Icon Coaching. There's a scripts and dialogues section where Sean not only gives you the scripts and dialogues, but gives you a video and explains the rationale behind the script. You can find that for free at iconcoaching.com. My business partner, Sean Kokoska, has a whole video for every scenario imaginable in real estate. And that includes commercial. Commercial is important. You need to know what NOI, net operating income is. You need to know what a cap rate is. You need to know how value is determined in a commercial property, because it's different than in a residential property. You need to know it on a residential property as well. But you need to know the lingo, like the different uses, mixed use versus what that means versus residential, multifamily versus multi-unit office, retail, or multi-unit office, or gas station. The difference between a gas station and a multifamily: one's a business, one generates income, but it's not a business entity, because not every brokerage allows you to do business entities. So there's a lot to know about commercial, but you absolutely, as a residential agent, should call yourself a resi-mercial agent, meaning you do both. And talk to people about the fact that you do both, and you will find business, commercial business, and it'll pay you a lot of money for doing it. Why are you stepping over that business? Just because you don't know and you're not listening for the commercial language. So keep that in mind. 5 income generating activities again are lead generation, lead follow-up, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and practicing your scripts, your dialogues, your presentations, seller, buyer, and commercial presentation. All 5 of these activities should be in green. All 5 of these should be in your schedule, your time block schedule. So a matter of putting them in there and then sticking to it. So for example, if the 5th one, practicing your scripts and dialogues, you're putting that time in your calendar, and you're being specific about what's in your calendar. I'm practicing my buyer presentation, or I'm role playing with a friend in my office on, expired scripts. That falls in that 5th category, and it goes in there. It's income generating. We don't delete income generating activities out of our calendar. Once you put them all in there and you lay them all out, and you have enough lead generation, enough lead follow-up, and you've got all of them in your calendar, if you need to move something to make up for another appointment or something that's coming in front of that, you're moving it, you're not deleting it. It's super important that you do enough of these 5 things every week and each week until you grow your business. And it really never changes. So this is the real world of real estate. I know you may be watching Selling Sunset or the $1 million listing, and I'm not as pretty as those girls on Selling Sunset, but those shows are not a good depiction of what it looks like to be a real estate agent. I've got a real estate agent on my team who started out by wanting to cater to the multi-million-dollar properties in Malibu, California, and he found out after a year that it's very hard to find that business. It's very hard to be an agent like Josh Altman on $1 Million Listing. He didn't start out that way. He started out like a regular real estate agent like me and you. And if it wasn't for the show, he wouldn't be who he is today. And he does a great business today. He actually does do business, a lot of business. So focus on the 5 income generating activities, fill your schedule with them. I promise you will make more money than you've ever made before in any job. You'll make more than some doctors, some lawyers in some cases. You can make your first year of $1 million income in a year. Not too many people do that. So if you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like to schedule an appointment with me, if you have any questions, please, and any one of the channels, please private message me. Call me at 818-338-8787. And we will see you tomorrow. And make it a great day and change something. Change your state. Do something different. We'll talk to you later.